Why I am not enough. 8 reasons. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I want to share with you 8 reasons as to why you might believe, and I'm saying believe, that you are not enough. I've answered this question thousands of times over 30 years of counseling, and I want you to get some insight into why you could possibly believe this and maybe give you some ideas on how to get out of this. So stay tuned, because thousands of men and women have been helped by what you're about to hear. Now, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel, because we do a lot of very helpful YouTubes. You can hit the little bell if you want to be notified, but also the ask a question, please, in that comment section, please do that, because we want you to do that. We want to hear from you. And if we can help you in any way move forward on accepting that you are more than enough, we would love to help you take that step. Well, welcome back. Today's topic is why I am not enough. I have literally had Miss of this state or this state in my office. And for over 30 years, I've had incredible women and men feel unworthy, unlovable, not worth the time, and all these kind of feelings inside their hearts, even though they had the physical features of a contest winner. I have multimillionaires, women and men, who tell me they don't feel enough. I've had professional athletes, doctors, lawyers, etc. tell me they are not enough. I say this to say to you that you're not alone. There are millions of women and men that don't feel that they are not enough. Now, I'm a psychologist. For over the last 30 years, I've helped people with this issue. I do 5-day intensives where people fly in and come in Colorado Springs, and we discuss these issues all the time. I created a DVD and a workbook called Worthy to help you grow past these feelings of not enough, and you can get that at drdougweiss.com. But that's going to be more on the solution. Today's discussion, I want to go through the reasons why you might be feeling or even believing that you are not enough. I'm going to go through them rather quickly, and I want you to possibly identify the ones that apply to you, because some of these won't apply to you. And I just want you to take your time, and you might want a pen and paper, slow yourself down and go, okay, let me think about this. And it's okay to pause me. I won't feel it, okay? I might look funny, but I won't feel it. And if you need to think about it, I want you to think about it. Because if you can get some insight while you're in this situation, I want you to do that. I really want you to be able to identify maybe the things that hit your heart, the things that might have traumatized you, the things that might be secrets to you that are really, in the long term, causing you to feel unworthy, not enough, not good enough. And I don't want you to feel that way. That's an awful way to feel. I remember that feeling. It's awful. So let me go through this. The first one is what we call family of origin. And that's just a fancy way of saying your mom and dad. Now, in your family of origin, you need certain things to feel like you're good enough, to feel like you're worthy, to feel like you are part of the tribe, so to speak, and get validation. So when that doesn't happen, you can definitely get the message that you're not worth, okay? If your family of origin lacked praising you, they didn't say you're awesome, you're amazing, you're great, you're fantastic, you can do anything. If you didn't hear those messages, you're going to internalize that silence. You're going to internalize them not saying that. Now, it also could be that you were not heard. Okay, if you were trying to share your voice and share your feelings, and you weren't able to share your feelings, you weren't able to be heard in the process of growing up. Well, if you can't be heard, you don't feel valuable at all. You could have a lack of being spoken into, where your dad or your mom looks you in the eyes and says, you know what? You're incredible. You're amazing. I love your spark. I love your heart. You're great. You didn't get spoken into, and that can create a lack of value. The lack of being explored or accepted. And what I mean by explored is really trying to find out what your gifts were, really trying to find out what your passions were, really trying to find out why you believe what you believe, discovering you. And that can send a message that you're not worth knowing. The lack of feeling unconditionally loved. We all have different gifts and all different kinds of personalities. And, we're all a little different than our other family members. And in a healthy family, that should be celebrated. You're a great artist and your brother's a great football player and your sister's a great, something else. Maybe she likes to debate. She'll be a lawyer when she grows up. This is a fantastic family. We're all different. And you might not have felt unconditionally loved, and therefore you might question whether you are lovable. Now, there's a lot of things that can go on in the family of origin that can contribute to you not feeling worthy. Now, can you get past that? Absolutely. Okay, now the second thing I want to talk about is abuse and neglect in several formats. If you were physically abused or neglected, physical abuse, you were punched, you were hit, you were pushed. Physical neglect is your needs weren't met. You didn't know when your next meal was going to happen. You weren't taken care of if you had a medical condition. Neglect. Emotional abuse or neglect. Emotional abuse is being called stupid, being shamed, being yelled at, and feeling like you're being raised by a 4-year-old at home. And emotional neglect is not talking about feelings. Like, you didn't even know what a feeling was growing up. We never talked about that. That's emotional neglect. Spiritual abuse or spiritual neglect. Spiritual abuse would be you have to think and feel and believe this way, and if you don't, off with your head. Okay? It's using spirituality as a way to control or manipulate or abuse you. Neglect, and that's different than spirituality. Spirituality is based on love. It's not based on performance, okay? Spiritual neglect is there was no conversation about God or higher power or spirituality. None of that. That'd be neglect. It's almost as if you didn't have a spirit. Sexual abuse or neglect. Sexual abuse, having a sexual encounter with someone early on, that's not consensual. You didn't know what you were doing. Oftentimes they're older than you. This could be a family member, not a family member. This could be a neighbor. This could be someone you didn't know. This could happen in a bathroom. And if that's a secret, oh my, you can feel worthless. That's one of the symptoms of sexual abuse. Neglect. Sexual neglect is never talking about your sex organs, never talking about orgasms, never talking about sexuality, never talking about dating. You got to figure everything out. Maybe you figured it out with pornography and through your friends and stuff like that. That's sexual neglect, and you might experience that. Number 3, and this is a big one, and I find this with a lot of clients when we get to their sexual histories, because I do that every week. People flying from all over the country, all over the world, and I deal a lot with people with sexual addictions and intimacy anorexia and stuff like that, so I have to go through their sexual histories. I've literally taken probably 10,000 sexual histories. And what I find is that first sexual encounter can be a massive blow to the soul, the spirit, and the person. Especially if you're all in. I find women really do this more than men. They're all in. They think this is going to be the one for the rest of my life. And then they get rejected afterwards. And he chooses somebody else. And they feel humiliated. They feel alone. They feel rejected. Okay? The meaning that they give their first sexual encounter can be massive if they feel dirty or unclean or unacceptable or no one's ever going to love me. And if that first sexual encounter was rape or sexual abuse, it can send all kinds of messages that you're not worth connecting to, you're not worth knowing, you're just being used. Now, I'm going to say, if you have a secret about this and you've never told anybody, I would definitely seek professional help. You can call my office, you can talk to a counselor or find someone locally. But you're going to want to talk about that, because most likely if you have a sexual secret like that, and it might be something you did to someone else, it might not be something that was done to you, you could have worthless feelings about that. And you won't unravel that until you talk about and honest about that with somebody. Okay? Now, number 4, bad early romantic relationships. You were abused in those relationships, maybe physically, sexually, or emotionally. You were told you weren't enough, you were cheated on, and that sent a message that whatever you're presenting isn't good enough or acceptable to them. Now, let me tell you, that's all about them. But remember, these are early adolescent years or later adolescent years or even young adulthood, and it's really impressionable, and some of these messages get internalized. And if you come from a family of origin, that already has bad messaging, this can get reinforced that you're not enough. So you might need to look at your early romantic relationships and what were the messages you got from those and what are the messages you want to keep. Number 5, if you have addictions, you can definitely have some worth issues. Okay, if you have secrets of any kind, gambling, pornography, sexual behavior, alcohol, drugs, illegal behaviors, if you have addictions and you believe that if someone really knew you, that they wouldn't love you, you're probably struggling with some worthless feelings. Regardless of what that addiction is, you're going to probably need to get some help for that and walk through that and move through that process, because if you're still hurting yourself by addictive behaviors, then you're going to continue to reinforce that you're worth less. Okay? Number 6, shame or guilt. Now, shame is believing I am bad. Now, often because of something that was done to you, especially if you were little and you didn't have abstract reasoning, because bad things happen to bad people when you're little, and you can't figure out that, no, bad things happen because bad people do bad things. Okay? And that other person was to blame. So shame is the internal feeling of I am bad innately. Okay? Now, guilt is something you did that you deeply regret. Guilt is something you know you shouldn't have done, most likely, and you did it anyway, and you might have even gotten away with it, but you don't feel good about it. And that's guilt. And if you can walk through that, talk through that, you can probably get some relief and unwind that. Number 7, if you're in a bad or sexless marriage, if you're married to someone who's an intimacy anorexic, let me spend a minute there. Intimacy anorexia is the active withholding of spiritual and emotional and sexual intimacy. They're too busy for you, they blame you, they withhold love, they withhold praise, they withhold spiritually, they withhold sex, or they're disconnected during sex. They don't talk about their feelings, they use anger and silence as a way to control, they have criticism of you. And over the years of not being loved, not being pursued, not being connected to, the other person not wanting sex with you, feeling rejected constantly, depletes you. And it can move you to a place of feeling that you're not enough. If you're married and alone and you're feeling these kind of feelings, you can definitely feel that you're not enough. That's not about you. But it definitely can be one of the reasons why someone can feel like I'm not enough. Like no matter what I do, my husband or my wife doesn't want me. No matter how I perform, I don't get loved. They tell me if I do this, I'm gonna, but I don't. And that's so sad, but it can definitely be one of the reasons why you feel you're not enough. Now, as an identity that helps you, as an identity, that worthless feeling, I'm not enough feeling, if you move that into this is my identity. Now, this is going to sound strange, but for some people, not feeling enough or worthless is actually a friend. It's part of your identity. Now, why would you have a friend like that? Because it allows you not to try. It allows you not to believe in you. It allows you not to take responsibility for yourself or your gifts. Now, I know that's an odd one, but if you have made feeling worthless, not enough, as a friend, it is actually serving you, and you're going to have to unwind that so that you can take responsibility for your gifts and why you're here in time and space and move forward with your life. Now, regardless of the reason why you feel you're not enough, I want to really encourage you to get the Worthy workbook and the DVD. If you need a phone counseling session, call my office, 719-278-3708. If you want to spend a few days with us, 3 to 5 days, and do an intensive and really get down to what is at the core of this worthless feeling so that you don't have to feel this way. You can have all kinds of pent-up trauma and anger and hurt and feelings that you really need to process. I would encourage you to do that. And everyone listening to me, I want you to know that you are worthwhile. I mean, I never met my dad. I was put in foster homes. I was sexually abused. I was abandoned. I was a throwaway. I got hurt in relationships. I got cheated on. I get it, totally. But that's not who I am. That is not my value. I'm totally worthy to be loved. And so are you. Now, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you have a question after this conversation, I really want you to take a moment, type it down in the box below, send it to me, and generally get back to you pretty quick. So thanks for this time, and join us on one of these others to help you take a next step.